Oh, I don't pay for suits. My suits are on the house, or the house burns down.
Welcome back to the Red Right Hand Podcast, the show that covers each and every episode of the BBC/Netflix hit TV show The Peaky Blinders. I'm Josh.
And I'm Curtis.
And this week we are back for Season 2, Episode 2. I thought that once we got into the second season that they actually got names, but I don't think that comes until the third season.
Oh, did they even... I don't even think they had names overall.
Yeah.
I thought we just decided, like, they never came up with names.
No, it's like by the third or fourth season they start having names for the episodes.
Are you sure?
I'm 100% positive.
Okay, hold on. Let me look here. Let me pull it up here.
I feel like I checked recently.
Let's see here. No, Season 3 still has the episode names as episode. No, wait, hold on a second. Wait. I said episode 3 here. Yeah, still episode... Season 3, episode 1. Season 4 is where it starts.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
I was like, I know eventually they start having them.
I didn't think they did. I just felt like they just kept going with the episode 1, episode 2, episode 3. I wonder why wouldn't you just... I mean, we talked about it in the first season. Why would you not name them at the very beginning?
Like, not, like, just make that decision from the beginning to have each episode have a name.
Yeah, I mean, I would think they'd be able to come up with some good names. I mean, obviously they did, because they started doing it, 4 seasons in.
Yeah.
But, whatever, I'm sure they had a lot of other things on their mind when they were trying to write the show. Instead of, what are we going to call the episode, man?
So we've got episode 2, just called episode 2. So the episode starts off pretty heavy. It's also going to be another PJ Harvey heavy music episode. I think I only noticed maybe one or two other artists in the episode.
So I remember at least one.
There's a song by The Kills later on.
Okay, well then 2 then.
Oh, okay.
Because the other one was Arctic Monkeys.
Oh, yeah, that's right. We talked about that.
Yeah, we were just talking about that, actually.
So we get kind of a dark open. We pick up right where we left off the last episode. Tommy's been beaten by Sabini's men. Ada's also been taken by Sabini's men. And we're kind of getting a back and forth between the two of them like we did at the last episode.
With a pretty cool shot of him in the hospital, too, going down the hallways. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, getting taken in on the stretcher. It's just a good shot, like the overhead shot.
Right, yeah.
And I think it's got to be attached to the stretcher in some way, it looks like. The
camera. Oh, for sure, yeah.
So Tommy's taken to the hospital. You're kind of getting the back and forth between him and Ada there. Ada's been thrown in the car, and I'm not sure where they're taking her to, but before they can get wherever they're going, some of Tommy's men stop the car and shoot the guys who are driving.
Do you think they would have killed her or held her for some type of, like, ransom or something?
I don't know. It almost felt more like a message type scenario there.
You can send a message by killing somebody, though.
But, yeah,
I mean, that's a lot of times what they did back then.
They might have just killed her because, I mean, they were planning on killing Tommy. They didn't know the police were going to show up.
Right, that's what I was about to say, yeah.
So probably planning on killing her, too.
But yeah, like you said, Tommy's guys show up, and that poor dude, he's just trying to help out.
I know.
And the poor dude gets kneed in the groin or kicked or whatever, man.
Yeah. And she's still very persistent at this point. Like, my name's not Shelby. I'm not a Shelby. I'm not affiliated with them. But it's like she doesn't really realize at this time that it doesn't matter, like, how she portrays herself. If she says she's not associated with the family, like, she's still one of them. And it wasn't safe for her in London, like Tommy said before. Like, he tried to warn her.
Right. Well, and his enemies don't care if, you changed your last name? Oh, well, then we're just gonna go about our day and leave you alone. They don't care about that. You know? I mean,
she just, like, doesn't get that, like, the danger is very real, no matter if she, sides with them or not.
Right. She's hard-headed about it, for sure.
Yeah.
And he's trying to get her to understand that it's like, you're not safe, where you are. You think you are, but you're not.
Yeah.
I just like how she just like kicks that guy in the groin and then just like turns and just walks away like nothing happened.
Yeah.
That was just great, man.
Well, yeah, and the other guys are just like, what is going on?
Yeah, what do we follow her? What do we do? What's happening?
So after Eddie gets rescued, we go back to Tommy in the hospital. Looks like maybe, I don't know, a couple days, maybe a few days after he was probably brought in. Because he's still in really bad shape, but it doesn't look like it's all as fresh.
No, definitely eye swollen shut though.
Yeah. So Tommy gets a visit from Major Campbell.
Which is weird because he specifically told the nurse, "No, I don't want any visitors."
Yeah, but I mean, he's just gonna come in. He's an agent of the crown.
Right?
At this
Yeah.
point.
What are you gonna do? You gonna get up out of the bed and fight me?
Yeah. So he starts kind of pressing Tommy. He says he knows everything that he's been up to over the last few years. He's been keeping tabs on him. I think, what did we say? It's been 2 years since the end of season 1.
Yes, I believe that's what it was. 2 years.
So he's been keeping tabs on him over these last couple years, and he knows that Tommy killed Eamon Duggan for the IRA. And I don't know why I didn't think about it before. I was trying to figure out like why they wanted this guy dead, but it's something you kind of get into in the later episodes of this season. But it's the Irish Civil War. Is basically the IRA is killing these guys who are, I can't remember the other 3-letter name for the ones who were for the treaty with England.
Oh, okay.
But they're basically killing those guys.
Okay, so you think that guy was a part of that group? Okay.
Yeah. But anyway, Campbell says he knows about that, so he knows he's kind of tied up with the IRA. He also knows that he basically tells him that he could try him for murder at any time because he knows about that and he could provide witnesses. Tommy kind of tries to jab back at him by telling him that Grace has moved to America and she's married. But Campbell seems like he already knows that, which is also kind of weird. Kind of seems like he's been keeping up with her also.
Well, of course. I mean, he's keeping tabs on everybody, it seems like. But it's funny to me how always, especially since Tommy figured out about Grace and then who she was and then Campbell's connection to her, that he's just always kind of throwing that in his face. It's like, oh, by the way, I heard from Grace. Hey, poking him in the wound, basically.
She says she still doesn't love you.
Right, exactly. What does he say something about? He started like kind of poking fun at him about the gunshot. Saying something about, does it still hurt coming from getting shot by a woman or something like that?
Yeah, he says, I imagine it's the same.
Right, yeah.
Like being shot by a woman is being shot by a man. But he says something about it being shameful. He's like, a bit more shameful, though.
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, he's just trying to push his buttons there. And it gets a little heated between them. It kind of gets physical there for a minute, with Campbell grabbing him and.
Well, he even used his cane earlier.
Yeah, he's got the cane in his chest.
Yeah, when he first came in, and Tommy was trying to like kind of deflect him by like, he's like, oh, I gotta take a piss. He's trying to call the nurse in there, and then he stabs that. Not really stabs him, but I mean, pokes him with the cane, and holds him down. Man, I mean, you can tell it was hurting because he's grunting.
Yeah. And he basically gives Tommy the same layout that the IRA gave him, that he's going to be doing a job for him now, kind of on behalf of the crown. And Tommy doesn't, I think he's got a bad feeling about all of it, but we kind of know the direction it's headed just from the last episode, with Campbell's intention being to get Tommy to carry this out and then get rid of him. Right.
Well, and I think I mentioned in the last episode too of, the whole thing getting pulled aside by the IRA to do this, assassination. Excuse me. And then so it's like he's already got his plans of his eyes set on London, dealing with Sabini and Alfie Solomon and all that stuff. And then the IRA comes up, and he's got to deal with that. Well, now it's like he's got London on his mind, he's got IRA in the back of his mind, and now he's got Campbell coming up with something else that he's got to do. And it's like, what? I mean, you people are like getting me off track here. I'm just trying to do my thing right here, and now you want to pull me left or right,
Yeah, he wants to keep doing his own thing, but just keeps getting caught up kind of carrying out plans for other people or just fulfilling some other things.
Right.
He manages to get out of the hospital. We go from there to Charlie's yard, where Charlie and Curly are loading up what I assume is probably a bunch of alcohol.
It sounded like, bottles
Yeah.
moving around, clinking together.
And somebody comes in through the front gate, and it's Tommy. Telly's still injured pretty badly. I imagine it was probably like that same night that he left the hospital.
I wondered though, because his eye wasn't as, if you look closely, his eye's not as swollen as it was when we saw him last with Inspector Campbell. You know what I'm saying?
Okay. So yeah,
I could be wrong. It could be that night. I don't know, that first shot with him and Campbell could have been early in the morning or something. Who knows?
Yeah. But he basically says it's not safe at the hospital, that he can't stay there. He says he needs to go to London tonight. He needs to have Charlie fix him up with a boat to go to London. And Curly is going to take him up there. Tommy says he's going to be his doctor. I didn't really look into it, but he said for Curly to get something that they put on lame horses.
A horse's legs.
Yeah.
And then he also said black powder. After he brought it, he's like, also get the black powder. It's like, what the hell are you going to do, man?
Yeah, who knows?
Hold on, I can look it up here. What it was.
Well, Charlie was saying it was just going to be some, I think he said witchcraft, but...
Yeah.
I'm sure the stuff for the horses is probably some kind of painkiller.
Yeah. I would assume that's what it was or whatever.
But the gunpowder, I think, was what Charlie was referencing there. I also put down that the name of the boat that he was going to give him was the January. I always think boats have cool names.
Oh, I didn't even notice that. No, I didn't notice that before.
Yeah, he was like, I've only got the January available. It was a slow boat, so it was going to take him
4 days.
Yeah, 4 days to get to Camden Town.
Oh, he even says it too. I thought you were just reading it on the actual boat. He actually told him the name of the boat.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah, no, he told him it was the name of the boat.
I'm trying to find this drug that he was talking about.
I'm sure they don't use it anymore.
Who knows, man? Let's see. Come on. Anytime here.
That really doesn't matter.
No, but it's just I guess I didn't say it. That's weird. I don't know. But anyway, yeah, it's stuff that they use on horses. Like you said, lame horses or whatever. Of course, Tommy tells him, he's like, I am a horse.
Yeah.
So anyway, let us move on.
He goes to Camden Town to meet with the Jews. He'd gotten that telegram in the last episode from Alfie Solomon's asking him to come down. And so we get our first look at their leader. It's Alfie Solomon's, who's
arguably the best character on the show.
Yeah.
Would you not agree? At least by the standards of who's playing him.
Yeah.
That's, man, yeah.
He's played by Tom Hardy. So they run a bakery there, which is it's as main operation.
His front.
Yeah. He says they bake 10,000 loaves of bread a week. And I kind of wondered if he was actually talking about bread there, or if he was talking about what they're actually about to talk about, which is whiskey.
Well, there is, as he's talking, like meets him at the door, there are barrels like everywhere, so
Yeah.
I don't know if he'd have anything to do with bread, barrels of bread.
Yeah.
I got barrels and barrels of bread.
But he walks him through, kind of gives him the quick tour. They go over, they try some whiskey.
Brown or white?
Yeah. And he takes the brown, which Alfie tells him is, what does he say, for the workers?
It's basically for the workers, the white's for the bosses.
Yeah. And they sit down in Solomon's office, and he says that he's heard bad things about you Birmingham people, that they're all gypsies. And basically just that I don't think that he thinks he can trust them.
Well, and he's going to tell him, he tells him here in just a little bit that, he asked him, he said, aren't you the guy that shot Billy Kimber in the eye, or between the eyes? And that's basically, he even comes out and says, you betrayed him. So it's like, why should I even trust you, to make a deal with me? Because that's like the same thing that you did with Billy Kimber. You struck a deal up with him, and then you betrayed him.
Yeah.
So what are you giving me that, is telling me I'm not going to have a bullet between my eyes here soon,
Yeah. They go back and forth, just kind of getting a feel for each other. Tommy tells him that he knows that he offers a deal or death, that basically they're going to make a deal here at the table right now, or Tommy's not going to walk out of there. Yeah, like you were saying, he doesn't trust Tommy because he betrayed Billy Kimber. But Tommy kind of knows what he needs. He knows, he researches his enemies and the people he wants to make allies with, and he knows their needs. So Tommy offers 100 men. He says a new relationship with the police, which basically just means police intelligence.
What did you think, though, about, you're just talking about him knowing everything. He had said, the deal about the deal or death, and then he said something about, I know you keep a gun in your top right-hand drawer. Well, then it's like he pulls out a gun from his left bottom drawer.
Yeah.
So it's like, was there another one over there, too, or did he switch it up on you, or what happened?
I think he probably switched it up on him, and he might have switched it up on him because he knows that he looks into everything.
Right, yeah.
Tommy would only know that if he had heard that, because that's something that he does.
Right, exactly.
So, but like you were saying, Solomon pulls the gun on him from the bottom left drawer.
It was at least the left side. It may have been bottom, may have been top. I don't know. Left side, at least.
Yeah.
He pulled it from the left, not the right. Makes think of like that Seinfeld episode with the baseball player. What was his name? Keith Hernandez.
Yeah.
Back and to the left.
And while they're sitting there, kind of in that moment with the gun drawn, Tommy's nose starts bleeding. And it's just kind of it's just an intense moment. When it kind of seems like he might die.
That was always kind of a weird scene for me, that little part when he's just standing there staring at him and his nose starts bleeding. It's like, the hell?
Yeah.
I get, he's still sustaining those injuries, but...
I was about to say, I think they're just trying to show you how messed up he still is, too.
Right. And then, did Alfie Solomon's, drop the gun because he was like, oh, this dude's already jacked up, or was he even really not going to shoot him in the first place? I don't know, because I wondered what the effect was of his nose bleeding.
Well, I think he's just testing him too,
right?
Back and forth,
right,
kind of seeing how he'll react to all this stuff. And he gives him what I called the barrel threat, which is basically if I don't like what all is said here and everything, then I'll have to shoot you, and then I'll have to load you up into 2 different barrels and send basically both of them to the end of the world in opposite directions.
One to Malaya or something like that, and then the other one to Timbuktu.
I remember the Timbuktu. I couldn't remember what the other one was.
Starts with an M, but I can't remember. But anyway.
But he asked Tommy his plan. So Tommy kind of starts laying out his plan for him there. We don't get to hear it there. But we'll see the results of it.
In due time.
So while he's in London, Tommy tracks down Ada, and he tells her it's still not safe. He's bought a house for her in a part of town where I don't know if it's where he's paid off the police or if it's just not where where Sabini's people control the police.
I think he said it was like right on the edge of his territory, like Sabini's territory.
Okay.
Like just on the outside or something. I can't remember exactly, but I wanted to say it was something along the lines of that.
Okay. But he's bought her this house. He says that his accountant said that it's good to make... it's good to buy property like that and put it in the name of a close family member. So that's what he's doing. So he gets the house for Ada and Carl.
A huge house. Like, what do you say? 4...
It's 4 stories with 8
stories,
bedrooms.
8 bedrooms. There we go. Yeah. For a woman and a baby.
Yeah. In one of Sabini's clubs, he meets with the police to talk about Tommy. They've kind of been digging up some information on him, and just once again, we're going to see the camaraderie of everybody that fought in the Great War. You know, he mentions that he was a soldier and that he won medals. And Sabini doesn't like that kind of right off the bat.
Of course, he was talking about, we looked on all the trains too, because he was spotted in town meeting with Alfie Solomons, because Sabini has a boy on the inside of Alfie's front business, and that's how he knew that Tommy was in town meeting with Solomon.
Yeah.
And so that's when he was, that was the big thing he was confronting the police about was, well, then why am I hearing this from this kid and not from you? Because I'm paying you to tell me these things. Of course, then he's like, well, we looked on all the trains, we can't check them all, blah, blah, blah. And then he's like, well, they're gypsies, man. They don't travel by train. They travel by boat, you idiot.
Yeah, they're like moving most of their goods up and down the rivers.
Right.
And so Sabini kind of slowly through his just talking to himself just gets pretty unhinged and starts screaming at the police. He's saying that they've done a deal with him and that I don't know if he thinks they're siding with him. He's saying that somebody's sat them down and talked to them.
Somebody sat you down.
Yeah. But he's clearly just unhinged and crazy, which just makes him dangerous.
Right.
So the police leave, and I don't remember this guy's name. I don't think we've learned it yet, but Sabini tells kind of his right-hand guy to find Tommy.
I'm going to go finish the job.
Yeah.
That, they should have done.
Yeah.
If it hadn't have been for Major Campbell.
The Major. So from there, we go over to Polly. She's waking up late for work. And
did you notice what she was doing, though?
She's counting the chimes.
She's counting the chimes, which tells her what time it is.
Yeah.
Which, by my count, it was 8 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, and that's what she says. On the 8th chime, she says 8.
8.
Then she
yeah.
jumps up real quick.
I never noticed that before until I rewatched this episode. I was like, oh, yeah. Okay, that's what she's doing. But anyway.
But she gets dressed and runs down to the book. And she finds that everybody's there waiting for her. She gets a big round of applause when she comes in. And we find out that it's her birthday.
No birthday songs, man. I was kind of disappointed by that.
But we don't stay for long. Tommy has them bring the car around so they can take her to show her a new birthday present. And it turns out he's bought not only a house for Ada, but he's bought a house for Polly also.
Had a bit of cash laying around
Yeah.
after buying Ada's house. Her massive house.
Well, and they're just, they're getting to this point where I was talking about where it's not just him, and the brothers that he's trying to raise up, but now they're like doing well enough that he's trying to raise up everyone around him.
Right, exactly. Yep. Because we saw that in the last episode with him employing Lizzie as a secretary.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But he can tell that she's kind of upset by all this. So he has the brothers wait outside, and he talks to Polly alone. He says that he knows why she's unhappy. And he kind of says there, too, that, like, Esme came to talk to him to tell him what was going on with her. And not like she was, like, ratting on her, like trying to, like she was concerned about her, and she was trying to tell Tommy, who would be able to help her if he could.
Right.
So, in the last episode, we talked about Polly's 2 children that were taken away from her, and she had the dream that her daughter had died, but her son was still alive. It wasn't a part of the dream, but she hadn't had a dream where her son had also died. And then the fortune teller had told her that her daughter was dead, and she believed it. Tommy says that they know people who have access to the parish that took the kids, like where they would have wound up. So he's going to do some digging for her and try to figure everything out. But he says, we're going to bring your kids home, we're going to bring them back here where they belong with you.
Right.
And then I just put in there, too, that quote from him that we're moving up, Paul. So it's just kind of, you're seeing them slowly come up, them slowly be able to better themselves, and just kind of starting to get on the right track, at least for what he's going for.
Right, yep.
After that, we just get a little short scene of Ada taking Carl to the new house, and she's just kind of overwhelmed with it. I think this is kind of the part where she starts to fall back in with them.
Yeah, that was my feeling on it too. Was just kind of a turning point for her.
Yeah, because even though she'll always have kind of a different role going forward than the rest of them, like she's not going to actively stay away from them,
right?
Like she has before.
Yeah.
Then we get that track by the Kills. Tommy classic, just walking down through Small Heath.
The factories and all their workers and everything. The classic scenes.
Yeah. Tommy goes to his office, and she tells him that he's gotten a letter. It's from New York, so we've got to assume it's from Grace. He tells her that he needs to have her write a letter. There was a letter he told her that he needed sent out, but he said he hadn't started writing it yet. So she's going to start typing up this letter for him while he dictates.
Who's it from, or who's it to?
He has her write this letter to Winston Churchill.
Ooh.
And we can basically see that this is going to be
the beginning.
Yeah, and
that's what I was thinking.
It's a business move for Tommy, but it's also kind of trying to get out ahead of Campbell in this.
I was about to say, it's all part of the plan.
Yeah. But the letter kind of levels with Churchill as a soldier. Tommy mentions his war record and kind of tries to flatter Churchill a little bit by saying that he knew that he left office to fight with the men on the front lines.
The part that I like, though, is when he gets done reading the letter, Churchill, he asks in the room, it's just like another dig at Campbell. He asks everybody in the room, you know,
who was at the Somme?
Who was at the Somme? Raise your hand. Of course, people raise their hand. Who was at Verdun? Several more people raise their hands. Of course, Campbell's just in the middle, just like, dang it, man. I mean, seriously?
Yeah.
You're going to do that to me? So.
And yeah, I put on there again, just like that camaraderie, like they all immediately, and when Churchill mentions that he was a tunnel digger, then there's really like a level of respect there.
Well, and they show that one guy, and he just, I mean, kind of like, oh, you know, he kind of dipped his head a little bit, and was, yeah, you could tell he was feeling it, man.
Yeah.
He'd understand.
And they, even at the end of, because Campbell's not happy.
Oh, for sure. No, for sure.
Churchill basically says that he's going to meet these, you know, quote unquote demands that Tommy has if he's going to be doing, you know, whatever the Crown needs him to.
Right.
If he's going to be undertaking this mission.
What was the demands?
He wanted some kind of, it was an exporting license or...
Yeah, it was a Empire export license, and he said specifically a license for, let's see here, covering India,
Canada,
Malaya Peninsula. I don't know what that is, and there was one other one, I think, but anyway, and Russia.
Yeah.
Which... Okay, no, I don't want to say anything. Go on.
It just winds up being more important later.
Well, and that's what I was wondering if that had anything to do with some stuff down the line. But anyway.
Probably.
Anyway, go ahead.
But that's basically like his quote-unquote demands. And they're going to agree to it.
Of course, Campbell, yeah, and he's all like, no, don't do that. You know, he laid it out for him. You know, he's a murderer. He's a gangster. Or a gangster. However the hell he said it. But, yeah, he's really trying to, like,
well, and Campbell
go against
just can't,
it, you know?
Campbell can't see past his own hatred of, like, not just Tommy, but everything that Tommy is.
Right.
To see that, like, he's a really valiant person who, you know, like, sacrificed a lot, like, who served in the war.
Right, but
like,
he
all
doesn't
this
care
stuff.
about that.
Yeah, and but he can't get past that. And so he's, like, constantly dumbstruck when people, like sympathize with him almost, you know? And
right.
support him.
Right.
Should
have fought in the war, bro.
They're going to agree to it, and Campbell's pretty upset about it. But I like the line that Churchill gave. He said, but even so, the tunnels were dug below our feet so that the guns pointed at our heads would be silenced or something like that. It's
yes,
like,
yeah.
To silence the guns pointed
right
at our
here.
heads.
The tunnels were dug beneath our feet to silence the guns pointed at our heads. Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. That was really, really cool line.
Yeah.
Of course, that's Churchill for you, man. He was always filled with, you know, great phrases and sayings, it felt like.
Yeah. And they're going to agree to this, but they tell him it's temporary.
I was about to say, key word here, temporary.
Yeah, he tells Campbell, you know, it's just temporary.
Kind of appease him, at least.
Yeah.
Like, look, we're still on the same side here. You know, we're still in this together, just until the deed is done.
So Tommy goes to see Polly's son Michael. He's managed to track down where he's at. Although his family's calling him Henry, he's got a different name than Polly had given him. He basically says that he tries to tell Michael that he's been told lies about his mother. Tommy asks the mother what Michael knows about Polly, and she says that she used opium and she drank too much and she beat him, and just none of that's true.
Right.
So they've kind of painted a bad picture of her so that Michael will never want to go find her.
Right. Exactly. Yep. His adopted mom seems very controlling, for sure.
Yeah.
Because she, like, freaked out, man, when she was talking to Tommy. And, of course, she was questioning at the beginning because he's like, I'm from the parish. Well, they usually write me, they don't just show up unannounced, blah, blah, blah. And then when Michael, or Henry, or whatever you want to call him, comes out and, is kind of interacting with Tommy, too, she just starts flipping out because Tommy starts telling him the truth of, his real name. His real mom's looking for him. Here's the address on the back of this car, blah, blah, blah. And she's just, like, losing it.
Yeah. And we talked about it a little bit earlier, but Michael, there's definitely, like, some curiosity. When he's looking at Tommy, when he's hearing what he's saying, I think he's just generally interested about kind of what's going on here. I think he probably wants to meet Polly, but he also is kind of interested in, who's this guy, like, who looks pretty successful, who came here to find me.
I think it's at the same time, it's like for kids that were, taken away or whatever, or given away by their parents, they're always curious. It's always lingering in the back of their mind to find their parents, their real parents.
Yeah.
Whatever the circumstances are, whether they, don't like them or whatever. There's just always that curiosity to find out who you really are, where you really came from,
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. I think there was definitely some something that was kind of pulling him towards Tommy too.
Yeah.
For sure.
If nothing else, it probably looks a lot more just interesting than what he's used to. They kind of live out there in the country.
Right.
So at the boxing ring, Finn and Isaiah are boxing. This is kind of our first introduction to Isaiah, I think. It was like the first time he's in it, right?
Yeah, I don't think he was in any other episode so far.
And Isaiah's about Finn's age, maybe just a little bit older. And he's just another one of the Peaky Blinders, but he is the son of
Jeremiah, isn't he?
Yeah, Jeremiah, the priest.
Okay, I was gonna ask you because I thought at one point I came across that, but I wasn't really for sure.
Yeah, he's Jeremiah's son.
Okay.
And while they're boxing, I love the guy who's like coaching them because he's not even looking at them.
Right.
He's literally just like reading a paper or something, like not even paying attention.
Well, that's nice. Keep hitting them. Yeah, use your left.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And meanwhile, Arthur kind of blows up as he's been doing here recently, and he kills a younger guy that he was boxing. I thought too while I was watching this, I'm like, I don't know why Arthur's boxing all these like teenage kids. Like, he should probably fight somebody a little more.
Why don't you pick on somebody your own age?
Somebody who could defend themselves a little better. Like, he's just like murdering these people.
Who knows, man? Of course, it was just supposed to be like a sparring. It was more or less supposed to be a sparring partner, I think.
Yeah.
Because obviously they were in like training boxes or whatever, but
yeah.
Yeah, then he just lost it.
Yeah. So he beats the kid to death. They have to drag him off, and he's just kind of losing it there. So, like we've seen before, Tommy comes into the book, gets bad news immediately, and kind of has to go address it. He goes and talks to Finn and Isaiah, and Isaiah won't say anything, but Finn tells him kind of what's been going on with Arthur. He says that he just kind of loses it. He screams.
Beats the crap out of people.
Yeah. And he says, and afterwards, that he cries. And so...
bipolar much?
Yeah, I think, yeah, and he's super up and down. Then he was on, he was on the mostly opium and whatever else that he was taking for a little while. And then Tommy had him, like, completely stop doing that.
Yeah, mad dog.
And he's, like, still dealing with some stuff from the war. So he's kind of all over the place.
Yeah.
Still struggling with his identity a little bit because he, he's the oldest brother and he can't live up to what Tommy is.
I was about to say losing that grasp on kind of being the head of the family there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So after Tommy talks to them, he goes to see Arthur, and basically Arthur, kind of lays it all on the table for him, kind of tells him everything he's feeling, how he feels like he's not right, he's been really messed up, and
probably one of the better scenes in the whole series, I think, to be honest.
It's a pretty dark one. Especially if, like, you listen to everything that's just being said right there between the two of them. Like,
right.
It gets pretty dark there.
Well, like, he describes his mind as a boat tipping.
Yeah, a boat with heavy cargo that tips back and forth.
Tips back and forth, yeah.
And Tommy kind of gets fed up with him. He's got a lot going on and trying to juggle all the pieces with dealing with pieces of your family also falling apart,
Right. Plus the Campbell thing and the IRA thing.
Yeah, the stuff with Polly, like it's a lot going on.
Right.
In addition to his business,
Well, and then one thing we haven't mentioned either was, all the whole Garrison thing. They're trying to get that all rebuilt. There's just so much going on, man. And so I think he kind of looks at it as like, your problems are like stupid, Arthur. They're just stupid compared to what I got going on. It's like, I got adult stuff going on here. You're just a kid.
Yeah. He kind of gets fed up with him and he's basically telling him to get over it. He says, I closed the door on it, Arthur. He was like, you closed the door on it.
Well, and he tells him, he's like, what do you want me to do? Are we supposed to treat you like a kid again? Hide the guns and the rope?
Yeah.
Seriously. And you're right. It's like, he closed the door on it. You need to close the door too. And it was funny because watching this scene again, it's like you never hear. I'm trying to even think like they're the whole series. I don't really remember hearing John ever really talk too much about like the war. He'd say stuff here and there, but like he never had. Definitely for sure, Arthur had the worst of it.
Yeah, he wasn't. He definitely wasn't affected by it like Arthur and Tommy were. Well,
who knows? Maybe he was kind of like Tommy, where it's like he just shut the door on it.
Yeah.
I don't know, but that was just kind of interesting. Basically, just trying to tell Arthur's like, man up. It sucks that you went through that, but it's like we all went through that. There's so many people that went through that, and they're all living okay. It's a tough thing to live with, but you just kind of got to block it out eventually, I think,
Yeah. Well, it's like in the episode where Arthur had tried to hang himself, and it's like Tommy says to him, now, when things are finally, for once in our lives, like, actually going good.
Right.
It's like, you can't see that,
Right.
So, yeah, just a hard time for Arthur, and Tommy kind of gives him some shock treatment there. Tommy leaves him, he smashes the whiskey, takes the bullets out of the gun, gets out of there, and still leaves him pretty angry. Moss goes in to eat lunch with Campbell at his desk back at the police station.
This is probably the best scene in the whole episode, just saying.
And he makes Campbell his favorite sandwich. It's super cute.
Tell me what's on that sandwich.
It's tongue and pickles
Mm,
and a single stroke of mustard.
the cherry on top right there, man. I still though wonder if that's really
Dude, I
tongue
bet
or if
it's
that's like
tongue.
slang.
I bet it's tongue.
I mean, I'm not saying it's not, but
yeah, no, I bet it's real
I
tongue.
wonder what kind of tongue.
Probably
Pig
cow.
tongue? Cow tongue? Okay,
I think
yeah, I can
that's
see that.
like the most common tongue, right? That people eat.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah. Human
So
tongue.
gross. Oh, I'll have a sandwich. Yeah, a tongue one.
I'll take the tongue special.
What was Larry David's sandwich that he got at there's the episode of Curb where he has there's that deli that for all the celebrities they like do a sandwich and they call it, they name it after you. So there's like the Ted Danson and then there's like the Larry David, and Larry's is like horrible. It's like tongue and whitefish. It's like all of these it's a bunch of like horrible stuff.
No, I don't remember that.
It's like a couple different kinds of fish.
Ugh, man.
That's what it made me think
But then
of.
the tongue on top of that, ugh.
Yeah,
I guess you could probably call this the Campbell then.
the Campbell.
The Campbell.
Gross.
Tongue, pickle, and one little stroke of, what do you say, mustard?
Mustard.
Oh, God.
Campbell kind of lets Moss know that he's been taking bribes from Tommy this whole time and that he's kind of flipped since he's been gone. But he says that he's going to be working for him again now and that he's going to use him mercilessly. But it's just funny because you can see from the look on Moss's face that Moss doesn't really have much intention of working for Campbell.
No, he doesn't.
know?
No, for sure.
He knows this is a passing thing.
Yeah. It's just like the first time. He's like, he's coming and then he's going to go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They'll be right back to the way they were.
Right, exactly.
Um,
Which I think, didn't he say that too at the very end of this first season? Saying something about you're going to leave and things will go back to the way they were or something?
yeah, he
feel like
does
he
mention
did.
something like that.
Or maybe he said it to Tommy or something.
I think that's like a concern of his in the first season.
Yes, yeah, I
is
think
that
you're
he's
right.
worried that when Campbell goes, that it'll just return to things like it was. So Tommy's done his research, looking for Polly's children. He's found Michael, and it turned out that the fortune teller was right about Polly's daughter, that she is dead. She died from spring fever.
She was adopted by a train station master
Yeah.
family, and then she kept running away, and then finally they sent her to Australia, and then that's where she caught spring fever.
Yeah.
Do you know what spring fever is?
No, I think it's just like
It must have been something kind of new back then because Tommy didn't even know what it was.
yeah, 'cause
He
it says,
knows
like, something
everything,
called,
man.
Yeah. I mean, it may not have been anything that made its way to.
Well, that's what I was
know,
wondering if it was
Europe
just
or
more
whatever.
like...
That's kind of a one-way trip back then.
You type it into Google, and I didn't even think about this, but Google wants to tell you spring fever is any number of mood, physical, or behavioral changes which may be experienced coinciding with the arrival of spring, particularly restlessness, laziness, and even immoralness. I don't know what the heck that word is.
Huh. So maybe, I don't know, it might have been something else. It could have been something even like the flu or,
Here. What is spring fever death? She was eventually sent to Australia. Oh, this is actually talking about Anna Gray right here.
Oh.
Okay. She was eventually sent to Australia where she supposedly died of spring fever, a mosquito-borne illness with symptoms akin to influenza and arthritis.
Called it.
Ugh. That's brutal, man.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So Tommy sits her down and he gives her the news on both their kids. He says that he knows where Michael is. He's in England. That he's alive. He's with the family. And Polly already is just not hearing the words he's saying.
She's getting excited. Yeah, she's just so excited about it.
Too excited about it, and she's not hearing him. And so I feel like Tommy's kind of testing her right there to see how she'll react to all this.
Right.
And
you had to think he probably knew that was coming. that she was going to get, like, overexcited about it. It's like, look, we kind of got to ease into this. We can't just go jumping in, head first.
Yeah. And she asks him for the address. She wants to know where he's at. And Tommy won't give it to her. He starts telling her, you're going to go there. You're going to get upset. She's going to get upset. And then she's going to call the police. And it's just going to make things harder and harder. But she can't accept that. And I think Tommy knew she couldn't. So she pulls a gun on him.
Took her a while to get that gun, but
God, because the gun is inside of a book, inside of her bag.
yeah.
Like, for Polly,
I was wondering if that was a book.
Like, so quick to have a weapon ready.
Yeah.
Like, that took forever to get out. It was so impractical.
Yeah, I was like, stupid, man. But whatever. Of course, he saw it coming. He was like, well, okay, here we go.
Yeah.
What's she going to do, shoot me? Of course, he even tells her, he's like, you can shoot me, you're not going to know where he is. Which
Yeah.
was funny to me because I was like, with the file's right there. Wouldn't it have an address on it too, though? Or not? Maybe it was just a file, like, who they were and everything.
I'm sure he didn't put it in there.
But maybe it was like... but it's like, it's the file from the parish. It's not like his own, like, hey, I wrote this up. Or I had Lizzie type it up or whatever. I mean, these are the files from the parish. And so that's what I'm saying. It's like either... I didn't know maybe if it would have... like the address of where he's living now, or it may have the address where he was living when they took him. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I would think that they may have all of that together in that folder or that file,
Yeah. I mean, I bet if the address is in there, I bet he blacked it out.
I mean, look, I'm just
like
I'm just like being like really picky about it.
It's not available to her.
But so you think he redacted it like the FBI?
Yes.
It's been redacted. Damn it.
But she's pissed at him. He says, if you shoot me, Polly, you'll never know. And I don't think she would have shot him there, but she's just very desperate to...
Right, she'll do anything, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So she shoots a hole in the ceiling out of anger and leaves.
You gonna pay for that?
I'll send you a bill.
I'll send you a bill. Lizzie, type it up.
So after that, I think it's that night or the next night is going to be the Garrison's grand reopening.
I'm going to guess that night.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So they're headed to the Garrison, Finn, Isaiah, and we've got 3 or 4 other of their friends there that we don't know right now.
One of them's named Mickey.
Mickey?
Yeah, because they said his name as they started walking.
Okay. Finn stops off at Arthur's house on the way there. Just go see him, kind of check up, see how he's doing. But he tells Arthur that Tommy sent him there. He says that it's your pub, your name's above the door, you got to be there. Arthur's still really depressed. He doesn't want to go. So, Finn wants to help him. Finn wants to get him up, wants to get him out of the house. So he breaks out the cocaine.
Woo!
And he says they call it Tokyo. He says you take a little bit when you're down. So Arthur does a big old line there. And then if he does all that he dumped out on the mirror there, that, yeah, he's
set for a while.
He's good to go. So the next shot, I know we both really like this shot.
The music and the shot, I mean, just the whole thing. And then Arthur, too, his character.
Yeah, just like back up, that confidence back up. Like, it's the Arthur that you like to see.
Right. Yeah.
The nothing can stop him guy.
Right.
But they're walking down the street. Camera's kind of following with their steps as they're walking, so it almost looks like it.
Well, it'd be one of those cameras that's like attached to him.
Yeah.
As he's walking, yeah.
They walk down the street to the Garrison, and then the next shot we get is Arthur playing bartender, taking care of everybody at the bar, running around, lighting cigarettes and
having a good
drinks.
time, man.
Yeah, enjoying himself.
Which puts a smile on Tommy's face.
Yeah.
that his brother's back and alive.
Yeah. And Tommy comes in and basically tells him to go easy on the cocaine. He says, have you ever seen a doped up horse after a race? Kind of what happens to him.
His reaction to,
Yeah, like that made sense to him.
yeah.
So Tommy just kind of surveys everything, sees everything's going well.
But you forgot one of the better parts though, when he's walking around saying hi to everybody, and then he sees Finn at the table. He's like, "Finn, give me that." Is that whiskey? Of course, he tells Johnny, "Keep him off the whiskey." What were you saying earlier about?
Just beer and cocaine for Finn.
Yeah, we want to take it easy tonight, man. So we'll just do the beer and
no
cocaine.
whiskey, just beer and coke.
Baby steps here, people.
Yeah. Now I thought it was kind of funny. Tommy makes his way around the room, and he's standing at the back, kind of watching everything. And as it's almost like a moment of, okay, and then he turns around and just leaves the party,
Right.
like
Surveying the scene, like you said. Yeah.
And just walks out of the room. He goes in one of the back rooms. I think it looks like they've kind of. Well, first of all, the remodel on the Garrison, that was something that we didn't mention.
Yeah.
I didn't realize how much they changed.
Really?
Like, I knew, I mean, I felt like I knew that they obviously remodeled after the pub burned down.
Right.
But I didn't realize that it was so...
Extravagant?
Yeah, like they completely changed like the shape of the bar and everything.
Well, let me ask you, which one did you like better? You like this version of it, or do you like the old version?
I like Old Garrison.
That's what I was thinking too. I'm not a big fan of the round bar like that, but I think at the same time that their trip to London really influenced them at that club Sabini's. I think a lot of it kind of made an impression on Tommy, and I think he's kind of dolling up the place to make it kind of look more modern, like the London clubs. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because it's all gold everywhere.
Right. When Ada comes in, she says it's very gold.
Right, and it was kind of the same way at London too. It felt like. I mean, it was really light in there.
Yeah.
So.
So Tommy goes into one of the back rooms. It looks almost kind of ballroomy back there. Like they have a bunch of tables.
Little dine-in part,
Yeah.
I guess. Because they took away a lot of the seating because of the bar.
Yeah.
If you notice, I mean, they still have some seating, but not as much as they did before.
Yeah.
It almost seems like they're kind of turning it more into, like, from a pub into more like a kind of restaurant type,
Yeah.
Still a pub, but...
But Tommy sits down at a table. He pulls out the letter that Lizzie gave him. That had come for him from London or from New York, and we know it's from Grace. But he doesn't even open the letter. He sits there holding it over a candle, and eventually decides to burn it. All the while, like, he's kind of thinking about Grace. He's having these flashbacks of her. And I think he's living on that quote that he had from the first season. She's in the past, and the past is not my concern.
But yet he still thinks of her.
Yeah, he still thinks about her, but he...
Just can't let go.
Yeah, but he lives close enough to what he said to burn the letter, to not even,
Right.
Let that...
Entertain the thought.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So he comes back out after that. Ada shows up. She's kind of talking about the club. Tommy brought her down basically to try to be a bridge between him and Polly.
Yeah, because they're not on speaking terms right now. I mean, at least Polly's not with Tommy.
Yeah.
She didn't really want anything to do with him, it seems like.
Yeah. She's really upset, even though Ada kind of tries to be the common denominator for him there. She just won't really have any of it. She says that she won't have anything to say to him until she gets the address.
Right.
And she's really, really drunk. I assume she was probably pre-gaming, and then she's been drinking since she got there.
Pre-game.
Yeah. I mean, she's probably honestly been drinking since she left Tommy's office.
Yeah, I would agree.
You know, she's
probably.
pretty upset. Anyway, she cozies up to this younger guy, and she winds up going home with him. After kind of the scene of that night, we get really early the next morning, and Tommy also has gone home with a few ladies. But he, at first I thought the scene was him kind of waking up there, but I realized that he probably had just never been to sleep. It looked like he was just awake.
Right,
like just like he couldn't sleep. And he gets up and he starts flipping through the books and stuff, going over a few things, trying to get his head straight. And just kind of from that scene, I was just kind of drawing that he was just still thinking about Grace, you know?
Well, so I was wondering, because I didn't really understand, like, what he was doing. So, I mean, unless, like you're saying, he's still thinking of Grace and then he's trying to get his mind off it by looking at anything else.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, may explain the two women in his bed, too, but... You know, trying to get his mind off of that with anything and everything.
Yeah.
You know?
Then also about the same time, we've got Polly walking home early that morning.
The walk of shame.
Doing the walk of shame down Small Heathrow there.
Is there much shame, though, down Small Heathrow? I mean...
Probably not. Honestly, there's probably not much shame when you're hurling your own shit out the windows.
This is true.
So Polly walks home, and she sees that there's a young man standing at her door. It's Michael, and he says that he's looking for Elizabeth Gray because he heard that she lived there. I liked the moment where, you know, he's not 100% sure it's her. I think he is pretty sure that that's who he's looking for, you know, but... The moment where, because she drops her keys in shock.
And I think that's when he starts to think, okay, this could be it, because then he takes the keys.
Well, when he picks up the, when he picks up
tries
the keys.
it, and he looks her up and down, and then tries the key. Which was even weird because there's more than one key on that ring, and it's like magically the first key that he picks up.
Is the one
that opens the door.
Yeah.
Which is weird to me, but whatever. I mean, what are you going to have him just stand there and go, oh, nope, that one didn't work. Yeah, let's try this one. You got to jiggle a little bit there. Okay, yeah, it worked.
Yeah.
But yeah, that look he gave her of, like, when he picked up the keys, and then he just, like, looked her up and down like, ugh, are you my mom?
Well, and he knows Elizabeth Gray lives at that address.
Right.
He just doesn't know if it's her. So, like, that moment when he puts the keys in the door and it opens, it's like that's when he knows for sure that it's her.
Right. Well, and then at the same time, it's like looking you up and down. It's like, okay, well, maybe because I mean, she's a mess, you know. Maybe the stories were true, you know, what they told him about his mom.
Yeah, that was the other thing I was thinking. I was like, man, what a horrible way for him to meet her, though.
Right.
Because it's almost like the picture that his adopted mom painted for him.
Right, exactly. And so that's what I was always thinking. It was like, man, probably running through her head is, man, if I would have just kept a level head the night before and not just let myself go and indulge myself, then I wouldn't be walking this path up to my house, meeting him this way. I could have probably been at the house. Of course, he said something about, you know, I was here last night. I tried on the house last night. Nobody answered. So she could have
waited.
Right.
So he
and that was the other thing, too. Is
all
like,
night.
did you just wait outside all night, or did you actually go, like,
he
to
waited
a hotel?
in Small Heath, like, all night.
That's crazy, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Which
how
I guess
badly he wanted
shows
to
you, I
meet
mean,
her.
he's like, yeah, he really wanted it, and he's tough.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Of course, I know the way they kind of paint him when you see him at the, the farmhouse, I guess you could call it, or whatever, with his adopted mom. You know, he just looked pretty... Well, and then we talked about it, too, with the clothing he was wearing when he met her the next morning, you know, in front of the house.
Yeah.
And he's got the bow tie on. He's just kind of looking kind of dressed up like a little kid, you know?
Yeah.
So I don't know. He looks pretty innocent. So I mean, for him to be spending the night on the streets of Small Heath, man, that's pretty brave for him.
Yeah.
But
It just says a lot. It just says that he wanted to meet her that much, you know?
right. Yep. Curiosity got the best of him.
Yeah.
So he definitely was willing to do whatever to meet her. So, of course, I don't know. It didn't really say, like, where he was living in comparison to, like, Small Heath. So who knows, like, what the distance that he traveled, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe they may say on, like, the next episode. Because I felt like he told her, like, he got on, like, a train or something like that. Or
Right, we get some idea of...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So. But until next time.
That's gonna do it for season 2, episode 2. We'll be back next Monday with season 2, episode 3, just titled episode 3.